All right, it is the bottom of the hour, 7 o'clock on this 28th day of January 2025. Welcome to it. You are tuning into the news desk, a whole host of shows coming your way in our lot on this hour that will be together. Coming up behind the headlines, I'll be joined by our news editor, Babala Manzana, as we try to dissect everything that has been breaking news and making fresh views. As always, taking a look at what has been happening within the financial struggles of Woolworths and especially the devastating fires that we are seeing in Boysen's informal segment. We'll check a deep dive into that and also look into the ongoing crisis that we're seeing with the government of national unity, taking a shift against the rand there. And then in the lead, we'll be joined by Mittah Kokong, who is a financial educator, as we try to take a look at what is our mindset, how are we getting ourselves ready for 2025, and what are the financial plans that we need to make sure that we adopt even in the year 2025. And then finally, we take a look into the world of sports, giving you all the updates that you need to know on every headline, that's including the AFCON 2025 final draw and a brave revelation from former Premier League referee David Coot, as we are going to be here to try to make sense of everything. But of course, we are asking you a poll question that we want you to engage in with South Africa definitely sending its troop into the DRC, and we're seeing that there has been a lot of deaths happening within that region. Should South Africa reassess its involvement in peacekeeping missions like the ones that we're seeing in DRC? Given the recent heavy losses, you have two options there. It's either yes or no. However you view it, go onto our social media platforms, or you can go onto our stories to try to make sense of it all using the hashtag #TheNewsDesk for you to try and make sense of it all. Share your thoughts on social media at television_TV, and we'll share the results with you. Let's begin with the big story. Very good evening to you. You are tuning in to the news desk. I'm Kagiso Sithole, reporting live from Johannesburg, Soweto. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Now, the big stories that we're tracking for you this evening has to be the first story that takes us to the DRC at the Democratic Republic of Congo, where we're seeing that South African troops are out there as they are trying to make peace offerings there. And even so, South African troops are caught in devastating conflict with the M23 rebels there. Over the past 5 years, 13 SANDF soldiers have tragically lost their lives, with the situation described as a very tense situation. According to the SANDF spokesperson Spiwe Dlamini, South African forces in Goma and Sake are surrounded, unable to evacuate with their wounded or receive reinforcement. A video showing troops raising a white flag sparked outrage on social media, but Dlamini insists that this was not a surrendering moment, as we all saw that the video was circulating around social media, where we're seeing that we know when there is a red flag that has been a white flag rather that has been thrown off, it means that we are surrendering. But they are coming out to saying that this was not a surrender, but Dlamini also insists that this is not a surrender but a temporary truce to allow the M23 forces to retrieve their dead ones. As we all know, we've been tracking the story around social media and other news outlets, and taking a look at that, some other family members that have lost their loved ones at this, such as in the Limpopo region, we saw families who have lost their family members. There's another lady from the Maluleka family, a man who was someone that was a breadwinner in their family, and now he is dead, and they were anticipating him to come back. They last saw him in May 2024, and they were anticipating to see him in May 2025, and unfortunately, due to these forces that are termed as very tense that are happening at the M23 overruns in Goma there, that is what we are seeing. And then another thing that is shocking around this as that the Minister of Defense, the newly Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Mittah, has reassured South Africans that despite the numerous challenges faced by South Africa's National Defense Force, it can defend its country. And we are seeing that even our troops, they are dying even as they're trying to fight these shoots. But the question remains is why our troops there in the military forces? And in an interview on SABC's First the Nation with Clement Manyatela last week, Mittah, the Minister of Defense, was quite not clear of such plans according to his department. And definitely based on that interview, this is what she had to say.
Questions have been asked about whether our soldiers actually have the support that they need when they are on these missions. How are you attending to this? Because sometimes it looks like our soldiers are sent out to the battleground without adequate support.
But if you look at the incidents that would have happened, they really are not mainly in terms of equipment. Somewhere the car one's a different issue. It was not around equipment, it was backshot, the others were shooting. So it's really not around equipment. But the fact of the matter is, we are not where we should be, or the necessary equipment that we as South Africa would have wanted the mission to have. But basically to remind people that this is a United Nations a mission supported by AU and SADC. We are a contributing country. So it's not like we woke up as South Africa and took our boots, went to go and fight a DR. So it's a continental decision, it's a SADC decision, and we're contributing in our limited way. So even
right, that is the Minister of Defense there saying some shocking words and says that we are there supporting with our limited resources. That means that we are sending out troops without adequate equipment for them to actually go and fight and peacemakers. As much as we are in the partnership with the SADC region and all that, but what are our troops going there? Because this raises critical questions that why are our soldiers so vulnerable? Where is the international support that she's talking about? She's saying that the African Union is the one that is in charge of this, but we are seeing that there is not much support that is happening there. And how much longer will South African troops bear the brunt of this conflict? And these are lives and real lives at that matter, and definitely we'll be tracking those developments and making sure that we give you all the full updates that you know. However you view it, please go onto our social media platforms using the hashtag the NewsDesk. Right, let's move along to this next story that we are seeing here. Definitely that is hitting home, and we are seeing that public transport continues to be a challenge within South Africa. Violence erupted in Mpumalanga as 50 Putco buses were torched across 4 depots. The 2 employees were injured in what appears to be a conducted arson attack. The scenes of Umuloto, Kral rather, and Siabusa and Valbank are shocking. Security guards are ambushed, 1 employee shot and another was assaulted. We are seeing that in the early hours of the morning, there have been it was actually last night when these fires started, and Putco says that this might seem as if it's something that has been definitely been an orchestrated a thing against Putco. That is what we are seeing there. And Putco spokesperson Lindo Kulu confirmed that despite the distractions, the company continues to operate under heightened security. But let's be real onto this. It's about how do communities need to trust the public service at this, even though they can't commute and go back to where they're supposed to go, because they're finding troops at the same time that they can't be commuting to their places. I mean, there's daily commuting that is happening a part of Pretoria and Mpumalanga, especially in KwaMhlanga. There's a lot of end routes that are happening between KwaMhlanga and the Umloto Road, and people using Putco from there are the ones that have been affected. But this violence is something that has been normalized, as we're seeing that even in KZN we were seeing violence happening there, that the public transports, we're saying that public transport, we're saying that they do not need school transports. They actually need need people to take their kids to the taxi rank and also fetch them from the taxi rank in order for them to be able to use transport. But if we take a look at this matter, how realistic is this that we have to find that public transport are fighting amongst each other? But there's, as we headed, over 50 buses from the Putco have been set alight this morning at different depots in the Mpumalanga region, the Mloto, the Valvelkral, the Siyabusa, and as well as the Valbank. That is what we are seeing there. Hopefully that commuters there will have alternative transport, but Putco has also admitted to their responses to saying that additional buses have been put in place to make sure that every commuter travels safe back home and back to work. Hopefully, however you weigh it, go onto our social media platforms using the hashtag #TheNewsDesk. And the final story that we're tracking for you right here on the Big Stories segment, it definitely has to be around that yesterday was National Police Day, and we saw a lot of police people coming out and leaders coming out to making sure that they are setting commemorations and also deliverables to the police people that have been definitely playing a part in making sure that there is crime prevention. But a shocking stats that come out from the Independent Police Investigative Directorate has revealed that 187 people were killed by police in the KwaZulu-Natal during the 2023-2024 financial year. Out of more than 4,200 cases in the province, only 10% were finalized. And that we are seeing that what is happening with our police people, that out of all the 4,200, only 10% of these cases were dealt with and were finalized. The IPID spokesperson Lindsay Shuping says that the lack of resources is crippling their ability to hold law enforcement accountable. Each investigator is assigned about 300 cases per year. Let this sink in, South Africa, because if ever one person is given 300 cases per year, and then only 10% of them are finalized and dealt with, what does it say with the labor force of the police department? What does it say about the resources that are allocated there? And also, they also reiterated that there is a backlog of 15,000 cases which looms, while violent hotspots like the Gauteng, the Western Cape, and the KZN continues to dominate the department's attention there. As we saw that these are the hotspot areas, the provinces that have most cases, the KZN, the Gauteng, and the Western Cape. This report is a glaring incident of our justice system. When will the police that are implicated in cases and in these deaths? Because in some reports, it also reveals that these police people are also some of the people that are involved in these cases. Let's take a look at what happened in Stilfontein, that there's these police people who let loose of the Stilfontein kingpin there that we are seeing. But definitely, we want to find out your thoughts on this. When will this make sure that our police people take accountability? This is a scale of crisis and demands agent intervention indeed, but we'll also see real change. And yet it's another chapter of unfilled promises. However you view it, go to our social media platforms using the hashtag #TheNewsDesk and make sure that you view everything that we are seeing there, looking at the fact that it was National Police Day. Are our police forces making all the impacts that needs to be made to make sure that we fight crime and we combat crime into this? But a lot of the directorates have been throwing their hands to the KZN police people, say that they have done much to make sure that crime is being prevented in that area. All right, you are up to date with all the big stories that you need. We are tracking for you right here on television, where we inform, impact, and inspire you. It's time for us now to take a look at and dissect on the bigger stories that have been making rounds. And I cannot do this on my own, as TAV's news editor Baba Manzana joins me as we go behind the headlines. Right, indeed, that time of the evening where we go around all your digital platforms, all your newspaper articles, and every headlines that you have been talking about during the course of the week, and dissecting all and giving you some factual and sharp analysis. As always, is our news editor Babala Manzana is here joining us. Babala, it's always a great pleasure to have you, and welcome back to the News Desk.
Always. Thank you so very much, Kagiso. It's always a pleasure to actually be here, especially on a day where the news is actually very, and it's also fascinating. Very, very interesting stories that you are unpacking there on the top stories of the day.
Definitely, indeed, fascinating stories that we are tracking for you. And most importantly, they are heavy hitters even today, like from devastating fires, also to looking at some corporate mishaps that we are seeing. But let's kick off this first round with the first story that you are tracking for us, Babs.
Speaking of stories that are actually happening, Kagiso, the first story is taking us here to Johannesburg, right, where a fire actually erupted through the Poison's informal settlement. It actually destroyed about 100 shacks, and it actually left countless families homeless. I can tell you that this situation is actually a devastating scene, with emergency teams working tirelessly to actually prevent further damages. Quite devastating, if I may tell you.
It's very quite devastating. I mean, Babs, 100 shacks on its own. That means that that's 100 families who are starting 2025 with nothing. Is there anything that has been done so far to kind of help these families who are without homes?
It's quite a devastating one, It just reminds me back of a similar situation that actually happened back in Western Cape during December holidays. But officials have actually stepped in, right, to provide temporary shelters and food. But here's the real thing, Kagiso, right? There's actually a band-aid solution here. So what these families actually need is long-term housing security, right? When it comes to fires like these, they are not new. So they're honestly recurring tragedy, and it's clear that our urban planning is actually failing the most, actually failing vulnerabilities here.
They're failing a lot of vulnerable people. Like, it's heartbreaking
Yes.
that informal settlements even in 2025 are still exposed to such risks, Barbara. And it seems as if that there is no sustainable solutions that have been made as yet by the government. But where is the agency in providing proper houses? There's a new minister who was from the justice system, who went into being the Minister of Human Settlement, Melani, and now that there has been a lot of going forth and backs in that department, now we have a minister, but it's not clear that what is going to be happening. Do we need to act if there's another crisis that happens, or we definitely need to act on the get-go?
You've actually hit the nail on the head, It's a vicious cycle of neglecting, and until we prioritize sustainability solutions, I can tell you that these fires will definitely keep happening, as you're also saying right now. But let's just hear from Kagiso, what's actually your headlines on what's on your side when it comes to the round.
Definitely devastating stories, as I did mention, that we are tracking for you, and hopefully that the Poison's informal settlement families that have lost their lives will definitely be helped out even in this situation. Well, what I'm tracking for you is definitely in the world of business, as Woolworths has warned its earnings for the first half of the financial year could drop as much as 27%. This comes after this weak performance in their apparel divisions in both South Africa and Australia, which has overshadowed strong growth in their food business. I mean, people right now, Babs, I mean, they are not looking into spending their money into high-end fashion. And as we all know, that January is also known as January, meaning that there's a lot of cost that comes with January, paying fees, paying groceries and all that, and coming over from a whole much spended of December spending that we saw. But definitely this shows that there is a whole lot of weakening that is happening, especially within their fashion industry side.
I actually agree with you on that one. Woolies is always the go-to quality when it comes to food, but I guess when it comes to their fashion, it's actually quite gutting. What's the issue here?
Babs, definitely the issue here has to be about poor consumer sentiment and also high living, high cost that you are seeing in markets such as the Australia. As you all know that it only a lot of our financial attacks happen if ever these other big countries also are having these similar financial attacks that are happening with them, and also it increases. Woolworths has been trying to overhaul its fashion offering, but it seems like that process is taking a toll in South Africa as well. And let's not forget the discretionary of spending right now. As I did mention earlier, that it's January, people don't seem to be wanting to spend on high-end fashion, but they just want to get the basics and priorities on the necessities over the high-end fashion that we are seeing.
I totally agree with you when it comes to those, because when it comes to pickup seasons, it's normally around when you're approaching May, because as you're saying that a lot of people are looking at necessities at this point and specials when it comes to clothing. It's honestly tough out there, but Woolies is still a very heavyweight when it comes to the food business. Do you actually think that they can actually bounce back onto the fashion front? And
definitely,
considering the pricing of their clothing as well?
Definitely, I think that they can bounce back in a sense that they just need to rethink on their strategy, especially with their high-end fashion. How can we accommodate even the poor communities and poor societies? Because we all know that Woolworths has been seen as the brand for the elites, the brand for it, but it also needs to come into a point of they also meet, the poor, those that are struggling in this, because even the poor are the ones that are driving our economy. Perhaps they should also focus on affordable everyday essential instead of premium priced items. I don't know, what do our viewers think? Whoever, however you view it, go onto our social media platforms using the hashtag #TheNewsDesk. Is Woolworths still your go-to when it comes to fashion, or has it lost its touch? However you view it, let us know on all our social media platforms using the hashtag #TheNewsDesk. Correct. Babs, what else do you have on your side?
It's boiling. It's happening. I just want us, let's heat things up right now when it comes to the courtroom drama, right? As last week, we've been tracking the story of traditional Hika Gogo Maweni, right? Has actually been released on a 5,000 rand bail. All right. This is after facing charges of assault with, of course, the intent of causing of grievous bodily harm, So the case stems from an alleged incident that actually happened in December 2024. And Kagiso, it's honestly worth nothing, has actually 4 prior convictions, I don't know what's your take on this one.
There's 4 convictions at this,
you.
Babs, that I'm seeing here. And this already should have shown a red flag that this is something that was supposed to be dealt with. But let's also talk about the bigger issue here, that social media is very divided at this, because there are some who are saying that Gogo Maweni is being attacked. She's being unfairly targeted because of her public persona. But also, let's take a look at what has been happening. Last week I was talking with our lifestyle and entertainment editor Samu, looking at the fact that let's look at some of the comments that she's been making and some of the things that she's been making, which has also thrown a lot onto this. It's not just the public personas, but others are also divided in a sense that they think that history speaks for itself. Where do you stand at this, Babs?
History does honestly repeat itself. I have to say, it's quite a tough one, because while everyone deserves their day in court, we honestly just can't ignore the patterns of behavior, right? And when it comes to the justice system, it actually needs to do its job without being biased. I can tell you that. But let's just not turn things into popularity concerns when it comes to social media.
Definitely. And I think that this raises the questions that, are public figures judged more harshly, or do they need to be held higher, to hold higher standards, and I feel that they need to hold higher standards, because you are public figures, you are leading by example. People are looking at you, so definitely you need to lead by a high example. I don't know what you think. However you view it, use the hashtag #TheNewsDesk on all our social media platforms, or you can use the comment section below there on how you weigh it, on how you think about this bail that has been granted to Gogo Moweni and the saga that has been happening there. Share your thoughts and all your comments there, right? Let's move over to another story that I've been tracking for you in the world of business. Definitely has to be the GNU crisis that is hitting hard on the rand, and a lot of people are saying that if the GNU does not stand in the correct form, we might see the rand taking its slumps. This comes off after the political shaking that's making within the economy. The government of national unity is in a turmoil, and the rand is paying the price. Over the past week, it has dropped by 4% against the dollar, with economics warning that further instability for its crisis is unresolved at this matter. And let's not forget that the GNU is so divided in incidences such as the Bella bill that we saw, and also the recently signed bill, which is the land expropriation bill.
Definitely. Well, I think that the red is actually taking her hit. It's actually something that is very not new, Kagiso, but it actually feels like particularly troubling. What's actually driving this instability, if I may ask?
It's a lot of deep divisions that come within the GNU. You can know that these people have been fighting even before they came into the GNU. These people have been hitting their heads, knocking their heads together. But now they're in one room, one table. They seem not to agree on decisions that have been made. Even Johnston Hazel this afternoon was in a press briefing, actually talking about the fact that they are not here about radical transformation that the ANC is looking into. They're focusing on their other policies that they're looking into as the second largest Democratic Party and alliance in the country. But definitely, they're saying that if the GNU doesn't get its act together, we are definitely going to see ourselves not, performing as the way we are supposed to be performing, and leaders taking accountability at this.
It's quite devastating, if I may tell you. It's not just about the rand, if I may say. It's about every day. South Africans feel the pinch, if I may take. And the weaker the currency, it then means that higher import price and import cost. Which actually leads to high prices. Something that we've also been talking about lately as well. So if the GNU doesn't get its act together, we're all going to pay for this, I tell you.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more with you, Babs, because we are the ones who are going to definitely pay this price. And the question is, how long can we afford this political circus in our country before it derails our economy, before we don't even have money in our pockets to actually spend on this? Because this is definitely hitting a lot of, communities, especially the poor communities are also feeling the pinch. All we want is our leaders to get into one room and actually come into decisions that will benefit our country and our citizens as a country, right? Speaking of finances, let's take a look at how the rand has performed and how the JSE has definitely closed, looking at amongst these political tantrums that we are seeing there. They have definitely contributed to us seeing the rand taking such a chic deep dive even this week. The JSE closing off at 84,448 points, making an increase of 0.3%, showing the fact that there has been an increase there, looking at the fact that a lot of commodities are making waves and prices. Gold was trading at $2,785.38, making an increase of 0.6% in that increase. And then the Brent crude oil was at $77.08 for you to get a barrel. And you needed 18 rand 70 cents for you to get a US dollar, 19 rand 50 cents for you to get a euro, and 20 rand 25 cents for you to get a pound sterling, which shows an increase of plus 0.7%. And as I did mention, that this is a crisis that we are seeing in our country that is definitely showing us the fact that with these turmoils that are happening within the GNU and also within the price, it shows that there's a lot that still needs to happen there. All right, you are up to date with the big headlines as always, and we love to hear your thoughts around them, all around these political divisions and also these homes and lives that have definitely been affected by the fires in Booysens. Definitely look into us and how we can make it this. And also, we want to find out from you, even with the Woolworths showing a drop within the apparel, how you weigh it using the hashtag the NewsDesk on all our social media platforms.
Definitely, and do not go anywhere as we'll be shifting our gears now to the financial. We'll be talking about money matters, Coming up is Kagiso, who'll be sitting down with financial educator Mittah Kokong. This is to discuss, of course, how you can actually set yourself up to the financial success in 2025. It's time for the lead.
Thank you so much, Bob. Yes, indeed. It is that time of the evening where we deep dive and tackle issues that matter to you the most. And today we're shifting gears and focusing on something that matters to us most. And as we all want to master our finances in 2025. Financial planning is a very cultivating thing right now. Especially we need to get our mindset and our minds ready for us. And joining me is a powerhouse in the world of personal finance. She is a finance speaker and also finance educator, a financial coach and wealth builder. Please help me welcome Ms. Kokong, who is the founder of New Ground Financial Literacy, as we are going to be sharing on all things financial. Ms. Kokong, is an honor and a privilege to have you. Welcome to the News Desk.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful welcome, Kagiso. I'm really privileged and honored to be in your presence, and thank you for inviting me onto your platform. I hope the listeners or whoever is watching will enjoy the segment today.
Definitely they are going to enjoy the segment, because I know that I will. Because, at this time of the year, we always want to make sure that our finances are in check, our finances are in line with everything we do.
Yeah.
But where do we begin? Like, why do we always have to struggle in getting our finances in check? Year in, year out, we'll set in resolutions to say, this year, I want my finances to be better, but we always find ourselves struggling. Where do we begin?
Sure. You know what? Talking about personal finance, it's not an easy topic. And knowing humanity or human beings is that we always want a shortcut. But unfortunately, there's no way of addressing any personal finance issue using a shortcut. This is a topic that we have to face. This is an issue that we have to confront. We cannot ignore, we cannot run away from it. And unfortunately for some of us, it brings fear and anxiety. That is why it can be such a huge struggle. But the first place to begin, honestly, is, as I said earlier on, is to face the issue, right? Be intentional about your personal finances. Allow yourself to look at that bank statement. Allow yourself to look at that outstanding account statement. You actually start there. You do a spring cleaning of your finances by allowing yourself to actually look, because you deal with a lot of customers or consumers that would want someone else to take care of it. But unfortunately, this is a task that is very personal that a person would have to face. So the first step is to do this is now what I call the physical part of it, where you would get a hold of the actual statement, whether on your emails or on paper, and gather some information about any outstanding debt that you might have. Are you up to date with your taxes? So it's all about facing it. It's all about confronting this issue and not ignoring it. So I think just like we normally hear the actual steps of healing is that sometimes you'll be in denial, but eventually you need to accept that you've got a problem. Then after accepting, you take the steps to actually head towards healing. So the same case applies in your personal finances. You might be in denial for some time, but eventually if you want to get or to head towards financial healing, you need to accept that you've got a problem and eventually confront it.
I love the fact that it's the first step starts with you, identifying that I have a problem, or this is my financial situation where I'm standing. I mean, there's a lot of challenges that are happening, especially economically, the rising living cost, as well as the, looking at the versatility within the rand, how it fluctuates, and unpredictable job markets. A lot of people are finding themselves not being able to find sustainable jobs. What do you think, or would you recommend would be the best strategies for South Africans to stay resilient, even in the most dying financial situations?
I think the best thing to do is to keep yourself informed. And by informed, I don't mean you need to buy a newspaper that's got all this jargon that you don't understand, but you need to start having knowledge about the kind of financial products that you are using. I think that is step one. And then the following step would then be what I always advise people to do is people must really get to a point where they learn to live below their means. We need to move away from, if I'm earning 10,000, then the full 10,000 rand, I'm going to squash it and I'm not going to have savings. I'm not going to have anything. We need to learn to live below our means because anything can happen at any time. And we've seen that through COVID. So we need to have strategies in place whereby we are living below our means. We've got emergency savings. And I know someone might say, but I don't even have enough money to actually save. The reason people think that they don't have money to save, it's because they want to start saving high amounts. First month January, you put yourself in a tight corner. You want to save 1,000 rand, and yet you don't even have this 1,000 rand. That is why you would eventually end up going back to that money and using it because you didn't properly do a budget or a spending plan that will give you a clear picture of whether you could afford to even save or even save 1,000 rand. So the logic or the idea behind saving is first building the habit of saving. I mean, I could be earning at 5,000 rand right now. If I don't have the habit of saving my 50 rand now, I won't have the habit when I'm earning 40 grand. So people need to get to understand that money also comes with habits. So those are the kind of strategies that we need to incorporate into our personal finances. And whether we like it or not, it's a must. As I said, we need to face it.
Definitely. I'm listening at the build up of everything that it starts with you, and now you're getting yourself informed, and also actually not, sticking to the standards and conforming to the standards, because that's what we find ourselves doing most of the time. Because my friend has done this, I also want to buy this, and at that time I don't even have the finances of sustaining the whole thing. But now, how do we start by actually changing our mindsets when it comes to money as well, because this goes beyond just surviving our everyday lives, but it's also about building wealth that will sustain us even generations and generations to come.
True. That is very true. Even as you are talking now, a thought that comes to mind is that people don't know it, but there is a very close relationship between your physical money and your emotions, and that is where your money mindset comes in. So as much as I can be able to maybe open up a savings account and put money away and probably maybe do have some discipline to keep the money for a couple of months, I still need to deal with my mindset of what I think about money, because that is where you draw the line between me working for money and money working for me. Because if a person's mindset is not right when it comes to money, then they could be like the example I actually made earlier of someone who earns 5,000 and another person earns 40,000. I have met a lot of people where a person who earns 5,000 can do much more than a person who earns 40,000. This is an issue of mindset. So in the financial in the financial literacy space, we discuss what we call the fixed mindset, or what we call the scarcity mindset. This is a mindset that thinks that they cannot grow from where they are. Basically, they cannot accumulate more skills, whether financially or otherwise. Then you get the abundance mindset or the growth mindset. This is a mindset that thinks that with whatever little I've got, I can still do more. So as a people or as consumers, we need to get to a point where we have a growth mindset, a mindset that believes that even with 50 rand in my pocket, I can still make more money. And I just need to find the right vehicles to do this. Remember earlier on, I spoke about accumulating the actual knowledge. You would have to understand that there's something called the compound interest. And this is where my money earns interest on interest. So if I put away my 50 rand every month, at the end of the year, I'm not going to have the same money that I put in. I'm going to have more money as a result of this compound interest. So it's a matter of having the right mindset, and also dealing with ourselves, because sometimes it is ourselves that we have to face. And by saying so, I mean that I need to change how I speak about money. And I can understand, because how you grow up and how you see your parents handle money can also have an influence on this mindset. Different circumstances also give out different ways of dealing with money. So basically, a person has to learn to speak positively about money so that they can have the right mindset. And this starts by speaking. I mean, I can tell you now that if you've got a negative thought in your mind, you can't stop a negative thought by thinking a positive thought. Like same time, you need to speak in order to stop the thought. So as a people, we need to understand that for me to stop the fixed mindset or fixed thoughts or a scarcity mindset, I need to start confessing the abundance out of my mouth, because the things I speak, they pave a way for me to a better financial life, if I may say.
As you are speaking there, you're reiterating that we need to speak it. I can never see myself as that millionaire if ever I don't speak it, and I don't even manifest it into existence. But there's a huge role that education, financial education plays at this. And earlier on you spoke about people that need to keep themselves informed. But how can parents, schools or communities or even workplaces help in improving financial literacy in communities around them? Because it's not only something that is only focused individually, but also the environment and your surroundings also shape your financial mindset.
There are actually a lot of programs. I know right now, even banks on their website, if there is any bank that you bank with, their website has got the information that you need in order to know more about your personal finances, how to manage the money that you have, how to make it grow. Banks have got that. Even us at New Ground Financial Literacy, we are actually currently running a money time program in schools. So we go around in schools and we ask for permission from the principal, obviously through different kinds of sponsorship that we get from companies, where we educate young children, especially in primary schools, about money management. They've got a nice online platform called Money Time. That is where we educate the children how to save, what is compound interest, what is simple interest. Basically, they learn practical things where they can take money out of a savings and invest it, or actually the money will accumulate interest on this platform. So those are some of the programs that we are currently involved in. I know in school as well, there's a subject called EMS. There is a bit of financial literacy education there, but I think Money Time plays a huge role in actually ensuring that the lessons become practical and not just theory. The children experience what it feels like to have money and what it feels like to lose it. And I think it's very important for them to feel this at a younger age, so that they actually put the lessons that they learn into practice when they actually grow up. And there is also a state I think they do it once a year. It's called Money Smart Week, where the public is educated about financial literacy. Any company, banks or financial institutions come together. We at New Ground also do that. We educate the public. We can do it online, Instagram, face-to-face, whatever session you want to do. And this is an initiative by the FSCA and the NCFEC as well. So they come together and bring all the institutions to make sure that financial literacy is spread around the country. So it happens for a week where the public is educated about these concepts.
I love the initiatives that they are there. It goes to show that there's a lot of avenues that people can go to, but there seems to be that information gap, that digital divide, that people can't be able to access this information. Let's talk about New Ground Financial Literacy. What you guys do there, the programs that people can engage in making sure that they live healthier financial lives.
Yes. So we've got a money coaching program. This is where we do face-to-face or online coaching sessions, and these are mainly created to help a person who is struggling financially to reach their financial goals. So the program is tailor-made according to the person's needs, where we'll do a financial assessment of where the person stands financially, and then this is where we would provide step-by-step coaching and guidance to help them draw actually a picture of their finances, where they are, and the steps they need to take in order to get to where they are. And then we've got a service where we do financial talks. So if you are a group in a church or in a company that needs training for their employees, or any sort of group or organization that requires financial literacy education, we also do the actual financial talks. Then it's the children's programs that I just actually told you about now, where we do the online money time program. So those we are basically focused on to make sure that with whatever they have, they are actually able to get by and be savvy about it.
It's very important, and I love the fact that you are even starting it at a very young age, that kids need to grow with this thing, because we find ourselves at a later age that we have habits that are kind of killing our financial healthiness, such as overexpending.
Yes.
How can one deal with overexpending, because sometimes you say, no, I want to save money this year, I want to do this. But when you look at the things that you have used money for, some of them, they aren't that necessary for you to be able to use your money on them.
Yeah, so quite a common thing where you find yourself overspending. I normally advise that a spending plan is always the way to go. Actually sitting down and writing down a budget is the best way that you could help yourself with. And I do this on a monthly basis, and it helps me a lot, because a budget or a spending plan is a picture that you draw for yourself of the things that you are supposed to do and how far can you go in terms of doing them. A colleague of mine says that when you draw up a budget, you are actually giving purpose and direction for your money. Sometimes when you find yourself overspending, it could be as a result of you have this budget in your head. As long as the budget is in your head and it's not written down, then you will have a problem of overspending. Number two is the excitement. When that SMS comes through on your phone and that salary is like claps, and you're like, yes. And your light, your eyes,
mind, hey?
Exactly. And then suddenly it's the following day and you're full of regrets. So I have taught myself that even if the SMS comes during the day, I don't go to the shops on the same day. Because let me tell you, money and emotions is a dangerous combination. Because if you're excited, you will go and do what, like, let's say, for instance, the money just jumps in and you feel like steers. It will be steers for you, steers for friends, steers for mothers, steers. The next thing, you forgot about those plans that you were supposed to have. So it sounds light, but this is what has worked for me, because I also went through the same thing. I have seen that it happens. Once the SMS is there, you just jump and you go and buy. But you I always say, let the money sleep, and then you sleep, then wake up the following day, but have a budget. And even with your saving, make sure that you have a why. So your why is what will provide the much needed discipline to actually keep the money in that bank account. Because if I'm just saving because my neighbor is saving, I'm going to use that money. But my why provides the much needed purpose and vision for that money. It is what will hold me back from spending the money, right? If my why is I want to build a wall around my mother's house, then this is my why, and I need to hold on until I have enough money and I start building the wall. So having a why is very, very much important. And also, as part of our financial planning, we need to do what we normally call paying yourself first. So I know people think of paying yourself first as let me go buy that steers, or let me go buy that 24, and then, I'll be satisfied. I'm not saying people shouldn't do that, but paying yourself basically means covering the things that will cover you in the future, because the Mittah that I am today is just as important as the Mittah that I will be in the next 10 to 15 years. So that Mittah needs to retire financially comfortable. So by paying myself first, I'm making sure that I'm covered retirement wise. I'm making sure that I'm covered in terms of my savings for emergencies and those things. So it's more about futuristic thinking in our financial approach.
Definitely. And that's one thing that we lack, having that future in mind. We always, no, it's here. I just want to do this, and I find myself just overspending. I mean, a lot of people, have these regrets month in, month out, and it's as if that we do not even learn. I always tell myself that this month I'm gonna do things differently. But how can we not? Earlier on, you spoke about that sometimes we pressure ourselves to saying that I want to save a 1,000, and we put a pressure on ourselves. But how can we start small in order for us to grow and also have that future in mind?
Okay, so first step, always draft your budget. Your budget will consist of the income that you have minus your expenses. If you've got a surplus is that extra money that is left after, then it means you've got space to save some money, right? So you could either also use the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. So 50% is for your needs, 30% is for your wants, 20% is for paying yourself first, those retirement savings and whatnot. So meaning you will divide your money into 50%, that's for your needs, and then the other 50% you will divide into two, which is 30 and 20%. And then that is how you will divide your money, meaning 20% of your total income will go towards your savings, or go towards your anything that you plan for your future, like your savings, So basically that is how you put your plan together. But if you draft your budget and you find that because sometimes someone earns an income, and because of the heavy expenses, again, earlier on you spoke about the economy, you find that you're earning a certain amount of salary, and after you've covered your groceries, your rent, paid children's school fees, you've got a debt that you need to pay, but you don't have money left. It means it's possible that you need to cut down. You need to cut down if you've got any luxuries on your budget. If you've got DSTV that you pay 1,000, maybe you don't need to pay 1,000. You need to actually go down on that premium. And then if maybe you find yourself at a minus where really you are not making it, and you've got too much debt, maybe you need to see someone like a debt counselor who can help you actually get you in a space whereby you actually have a peace of mind to start planning properly, So there are different scenarios to it, but the first step is to know your money. And the only way to know your money is to draft that budget, is to draft that spending plan. And then after you've drafted it, because you can imagine if I've got a surplus, because some people think, I'm earning this money, but I don't know where it's going because I never have money. But after they've drafted a budget, a picture is drawn. And from this picture, you can make decisions and take steps that can actually help you to plan for the future. Then, okay, maybe I've got an extra 1,000. I can take 500 and put it away for savings. I can take 500 and put it away for an investment. Then that way, I've got a picture in my mind, which is where also the financial planning comes in. Then also I start looking at different types of financial products that I can buy if I've got a surplus. So that is always the first step. And remember as well, discipline and consistency in this plays a huge role. These are probably what sounds like the very soft stuff, but they are very necessary things to have. You need to be disciplined. You need to be consistent. Maybe last month your budget didn't go well. It doesn't mean stop this month. You begin again, and you write down and you plan and you get more knowledge And, as you go, you will grow into it. You will adjust. You will learn your triggers, the things that cause you to go in the wrong direction, every month. Is it my friend that always calls me on payday that causes me to go in the wrong direction? Or is it, cravings or whatever? But basically, we need to get to a space whereby we are disciplined and we are consistent. Because remember, again, the earlier on we spoke about the mindset. If the mindset is not right, we will always be cycling in the same space. You could have all the knowledge that you have, but if you're not dealing with the mindset, then you'll be still stuck in the same place.
It goes with the mindset, and sometimes you don't even realize the fact that this friend of mine is calling me every time when it's month end,
when
and
it's
we don't
month
even
end.
see it. That actually these are the other things that are contributing to these struggles. I mean, we can go on, the whole day talking about how we can equip ourselves as, as individuals, and making sure that we are well established when it comes to finances. But as we wrap up our conversation, we've spoken about a lot of strategies. But what would be that one piece of advice, that someone who might be watching this live, later on and engaging with it, what would be that one message out of everything that we've spoken about that you'd want them to take away in order to better their finances in 2025?
My advice, or one strategy, and I think maybe it's because I'm also doing that to myself at the moment: deal with yourself. And by so saying, I'm saying, look at where you are, look at where you come from, look at how you grew up, not as a way of regret, but look at the things that have affected you, or the way you are actually using money now. Try and fix those so that how you spend your money now is better than what you learned in the past, because that is what I'm training myself to do. I am dealing with myself by looking at, okay, I do the same thing every month, but I get the same outcome, and it's not a good outcome. So therefore, what can I do to fix myself? Because unfortunately, as a people, we are very quick to fix other people. We are very quick to blame other people, to say the system this, the system that. Those are things that are outside of our control. What can I do that is within my control to make sure what I have works for me? Because we need to get to a point where we are not just consumers, but we are wealth creators. We are wealth builders, which is what we aim to do at New Ground. We are by knowledge, we are trying to break limitations, and then in the process also create wealth, because we always say knowledge is power. So if knowledge is power, it means it empowers me to become something, therefore to do something, to bring about change. So my advice would be, deal with yourself first. Face the fact that you are not dealing with money properly. Therefore, there is a problem that I have to deal with. So deal with yourself, and your money habits are going to change. Your money personalities are going to change. Your money mindset is going to change, because you're not pointing a finger at anyone. You know that the problem is with you, because you're the one who works for the money. You are the one who earns it, and therefore you are the one responsible for making that money work for you. Thank you.
You are the one that is responsible to making money work for you. Like, I've been taking notes here, taking gems. Keep yourself informed. Do things that will carry you in the long run, and there must be a why in you saving. So whatever that you do financially this year, make sure that there is a why for you, and have a budget in mind. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, and hopefully that will keep these conversations going. And the next time you want anything around finance, we know the person to go to.
Thank you so much, Kagiso. That means a lot. Yes, thank you again for having me, and enjoy your evening. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You too, enjoy the rest of your evening. That is Mittah Kokong, who is the founder and financial educator from New Ground Financial Literacy. If you want more information on how you can keep yourself, financially in check and informed and financially responsible in 2025, please go onto their page. It's at _personal finances. That's where you can find them, and also take charge of your finances. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Indeed. Right, that wraps up the Tuesday edition of the News Desk. We've had plenty conversations around everything that has been breaking news, and most importantly, the conversation that we've just had with Ms. Kokong from the New Ground Financial Literacy there, that you can go and find yourself more about everything that you need to know about finances. All right, it brings us to the end. On Thursday, we are back. We'll be bringing you the political view. Our resident political analyst, Tepo King Mazola, will be here to try to make sense of everything that has been happening within the GNU and how it is actually affecting us on a day-to-day basis. You do not want to miss that. We've looked at the challenges that have been faced by our South African troops in the DRC and also devastating fire attacks that we're seeing by Putco. As always, do keep the engagement with us on all our social media platforms using the hashtag NewsDesk. Don't forget that this episode will be posted live on Spotify tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for you to get yourself a recap of this. Let's look ahead onto Thursday's show as we'll dig and dive into all things political, and Sam Sent will be here giving us in other news on all things that is news and entertainment. All right, that wraps us the Tuesday edition, our lot for our time together. I'll meet you again on Thursday. Until we meet again, look after yourself. Good night.